Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Vegas 14, Paul Felder versus Rafael dos Anjos, and Shaq, it's going down this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada. Paul Felder stepping up on short notice. Not only is it going to be two exciting lightweights going at it, but Rafael dos Anjos doesn't have a takedown threat anymore.
I mean, Rafael couldn't ask for a better scenario. I mean, we already knew what the deal was going to be, what was supposed to happen this Saturday night. We know Islam was supposed to hit the mat return record on him and get a nice little 30, 50, 45. But instead, Paul Felder, man, give him props. Paul's one of the toughest guys out there, man. We know Paul's as durable as they come. And, he stepped in 5 days' notice. And, Rafael, I mean, now he gets a striker that doesn't wrestle. I mean, I'm sure he's happy. And Felder, it's a big opportunity, man. Rafael's a former lightweight champion, beat the WEC3, Cerrone, Benson, Showtime, Pettis. So, Rafael's a legend. In my opinion, he should be a Hall of Famer. I know he's on a skid, but I mean, he still went up to 170, those first few fights and took care of business against, guys like Neil Magny, who we see. I mean, Neil's out here whipping ass like damn near every other month. You know what I'm saying? Robbie Lawler. So Dos Anjos is a legend, man.
Absolutely. It's going to be an amazing main event. We're going to break down this whole card start to finish. But first up, we got to let the fans know that support for Half the Battle is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. And Shaq, you already know the deal. You don't want to deal with any grooming accidents, and you got girls coming over. You want to make sure they tell their friends that, you're well-kept, you're well-groomed, you're Manscaped. And that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. And their third generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. And when I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes so you can shave longer. The waterproof technology allows you to groom in the shower. And one of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming. They've also upgraded to 7,000 RPM motor with a quiet stroke technology. And let's not forget about the charging stand. Show your mower off loud and proud, because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. And if you're listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand. So let's get that push-to-tush clean. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. Make your testes their besties. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20, all caps, BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. And Shaq, now it's been close to a month. How you been enjoying the Manscaped products, man?
I mean, look, they're top notch. And look, in this game, how we're getting into, this fight week, Paul Felder, he took this short notice opportunity, man. Manscaped, allows, us men to be ready for short notice opportunities, if you catch my drift. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to ever, have a short notice opportunity in your hands and you got to go, wipe them off or, hit the shower real quick. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Manscaped allows you to do, man. That ball deodorant, that crop preserver, all that stuff, man. It's top-notch stuff, man. And it makes a big difference.
And make sure that you can stay ready at all times. So go to manscaped.com, use that promo code BATTLE20, all caps BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping. And like we told you already, you go ahead, you send us that screenshot that you use the code BATTLE20, and we'll match it with a Best Fight Picks package. Now, Shaq, let's get right down to business. We're going to do the main card, then we'll come back to the prelims. So first up, at Franklin weight, we got an 195. Next up, at Franklin weight, we got an 195-pound catch weight between Brendan Allen, who's 15-3, and Sean Strickland, who's 21-3. And those that don't know about Franklin weight, shout out to the legend Rich Franklin. You know how he had that stint. He fought a couple fights at 195 pounds in a row. But anyways, we got Brendan Allen minus 125 and Sean Strickland is plus 105. Quick turnarounds for both. I know Sean Strickland officially fought, but Brendan Allen, he made weight last week, so both these guys cutting weight again, but luckily not too much. Going to be at 195 pounds. I'd say Sean Strickland is the more well-rounded guy here, but Brendan Allen is the specialist. Do you think that his special abilities in jiu-jitsu are going to let him win this fight or not?
Man, it's a good matchup, man, because, Strickland, he was out, for a long time. Then he came back, got that nice little tune-up fight against Marshman, and he's hopping right back in there. And Brendan, I like this kid, Brendan Allen. Like I said before his fight with Ian, I think he, super young, already experienced, already fought top level competition, finished Kevin Holland at 23. So, I mean, Brendan Allen, has all the makings to be, a contender in this division. My only worry with Brendan is, man, it's like, I'm just worried that he might be a little worn out mentally, man. In a lot of these interviews, man, he's coming across as like, he just wants this thing to be over with, like this whole week so you can go home and not feel him, man. The Heinisch fight he's had twice, and it got pulled from underneath him, and then he has to see, Ian get blessed with a fight against Kelvin Gastelum. He's like, what the fuck? Like, are you serious? Like, and I'm fighting Sean Strickland. No offense to Strickland, but yeah, man, it's a good matchup. Strickland, I think, has one of the best jabs in MMA, a good pace, and I think he's got the striking advantage in this fight. I feel like, man, in his last fight against Marshman, I know it's Marshman, but I feel like in his last two fights, Strickland's been actually really making an effort to sit down on his punches a little bit more, and actually throw the two behind that jab instead of in the past where he's just been jabbing. I really feel like these last two fights he's really let it go a little bit more. But Brendan Allen, he's got that forward pressure. It's going to be a tough fight. I view it as a 50-50 fight. So, I guess, I should pick the dog, but I'm going to go with Brendan, man. I just think he's a little too aggressive. I think he's going to be moving forward. I think it's going to be a dog fight, though. From a betting perspective, I am a little worried that Brendan, I don't know, it's just personally, man, I feel like he's just coming across a little cocky-ish, a little, just seems like he wants this whole week to be over. But I wouldn't be shocked if Strickland pulled the upset, man. He's got the skills to stay upright, and he's got a high-level volume punching style, man. So I wouldn't be shocked. But I'll take Brendan Allen by, let's say, split decision.
Yeah, there's going to be a hell of a fight. I mean, basically, it comes down to how much, how many bad positions can Strickland give up against Brendan Allen. If he gives up his back, there's no guarantee that he turns in and that round is going to go to Brendan Allen, So it's about Sean Strickland maintaining his distance, popping that jab, and getting off on those straight punches. And I don't think he's going to be doing much talking like he did against Jack Marshman. This is a completely different type of threat here. So it's a very close fight, like you said. I think it's appropriately lined to pick him. I'm going to slightly lean with Sean Strickland. I think he's the more well-rounded guy here, and if he can just keep Brendan Allen off of him, I know Brendan Allen sticks to you like glue, but if he can just keep him away, I think that he can kind of outpoint him and go out there and win the decision. So I'm going to slightly lean with Sean Strickland here. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Antonio Arroyo, he's 9-3, and Eryk, your boy Anders, is 13-5. Currently, they got Eryk Anders minus 125 and Antonio Arroyo is plus 105. So, Shaq, I'd say that Antonio Arroyo has a kicking advantage here, and he's got a speed advantage as well. But aside from that, I'd give the other areas to Eryk Anders. I think that if Eryk just stays out of kicking range, easier said than done, and gets into boxing range or maybe even pins him up against the fence, I think that he can win the fight from there, kind of bully the guy a little bit. But that Eric's a little bit on the slower side, and sometimes he fights to the level of his competition. So if he just sits on the outside and trades kicks with this guy, he's going to get lit up. I know that much. And it's got to be a confidence booster for Arroyo to know that he can survive on the mat with a guy like Muniz. So big step in the right direction for him. I understand all the action coming in on him, but if Eryk plays this smart, I think he can win this fight. So I'm going to say Eryk closes the distance, gets it into boxing range, and slightly edges out a decision. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man, this is one of the harder fights to call, man, because firstly, I think I like Anders as a nice dude. I've met him, very nice guy. But as a fighter, man, I've thought he's been overrated for quite a while now. His last fight with Jocko, I kind of predicted that to a T, man. I was like, if Christoph's going to be breakdancing against anybody, man, it's going to be Eryk Anders. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's lost split decisions to Lyoto Machida, lost one to Elias Theodoro. He's lost rounds to Tim Williams before. It's really his only win. Khalil Roundtree completely dominated him. So I honestly think Eryk Anders is showing signs of a guy who's on his way out. Now, on the flip side, Arroyo, man, I really tried to give this guy a chance. I think he, like you said with the kicks, he is a little faster, a little bit more dynamic. The boxing isn't as good as the kicks, and he does kind of leave his chin in the air. And in that Muniz fight, yes, he did. Muniz is a second-degree black belt, but man, there were some moments in that fight where he was just standing on top of him, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But I know tangling with a guy like Andre Muniz has to be very physically taxing, but Eryk's definitely the more physical guy, and Eryk's got a very meat and potato style. It's either, a couple of haymakers, get into the clinch, and he keeps doing the same thing over. I really don't see any improvement in Eryk Anders. I don't think Eryk Anders is the type of guy I would stay away from betting at chalk and just period too, because even when he was dog money against Elias, I was like, man, this guy, he's like tailor-made. But I'll take Arroyo, man. I think I'll say Arroyo by split decision. I think he'll probably land flashier kicks. Eryk, it'll be close though, man. It's going to be, one of those fights where you really don't know who won at the end. Arroyo's not that impressive, but maybe he's a little bit more hungry. I've seen a large sample size from Anders, and it just hasn't really been getting any better. So I'll take Arroyo.
Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Hansen, who's 7-3, and Cory Mckenna, who's 5-1. Currently, they got Hansen -220. The comeback on Cory Mckenna is +180. So both these fighters are only 21 years old, Shaq. They're just kids. And it's going to be a good fight. I mean, I felt like Cory Mckenna put on a good performance on Contender Series, definitely showed a well-rounded MMA game. And Hansen's been having a lot of hype, and, she might have taken some fights she wasn't quite ready for early on in her career, but I thought the UFC debut against the former Invicta strawweight champ was a big step in the right direction. And I just kind of view this as a fight where they're very similar, but Hansen's, slightly the bigger, fighter here, can kind of bully her a little bit. She's got a 5-inch reach advantage in this spot, and I'm going to slightly edge Hansen here, man. I think that, it can be close at times, but, Hansen can maybe get that extra takedown or that extra submission attempt to sway the judges, so I'll go with Hansen here.
Yeah, man, I kind of am the same way. I feel like McKenna's, solid, and I think she's got a bright future ahead of her, young. And it's actually quite interesting because I've been hearing good things because Yan Chaonan actually said that McKenna was one of her training partners. So,
so she had to take the sidekick to the face of the
gym. She had to take a couple of lumps in there, but and Marina Rodriguez. I've been seeing them. Man. I've been seeing. I know Faber said she trained. She was their
tag
training
team.
Yeah, and she trains with Sarah McMahon. So Sarah McMahon. Shout out to her. She got my girl Yan Chaonan. Shout out to Yan Chaonan, by the way. For going out there stuff. And you saw how that wrestling defense got better, man. And shout out to Sarah McMahon and Cory McKenna and all of them, man. So yeah, I just think I just feel like McKenna's good. Like she kind of reminds me of like a Meatball McCann style, point fighter with the, footwork. And I do think that is Hansen's weakness is the striking. I mean, sometimes she does close her eyes in some of these exchanges, but her grappling, man, seems to be like a very strong. And she definitely seems a lot bigger, a lot stronger to me, especially after they load back up after this weight cut, man. So I wouldn't be shocked if McKenna looks even better. But that chick she fought on Contender Series, man, was kind of shitty.
It was a pole dancer.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Straight up.
Really? Okay. Well.
Yeah. Oh, if she needs a job down here, we'll hook her up.
But yeah, she was kind of like, I don't know. I just felt like it was a somewhat of a lower level opponent. I know Jin Yu Fry is kind of mentally weak, but at least, she was a champion. So I kind of have to lean Hansen. I think she's bigger, stronger. I wouldn't be shocked if she even got a finish here. So I'll go Hansen.
Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got the co-main event of the evening between Abdul Razak Alhassan, he's 10-2, and Kalen Khaos Williams is 10-1. Currently, they got Abdul Razak Alhassan -227. The comeback on Khaos Williams is +187. Shaq, I know why they selected this to be the co-main event, because this is going to be a very exciting fight between two bangers. They're going to go out there, stand and trade until one man falls. I cannot wait for this fight. So I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions about Razak Alhassan, man, that he's first-round KO or bust. And I understand all his wins have been first-round KOs, and I also understand that, the fights he's lost have gone to decision. But it's not like he stopped throwing in the third round of either of those fights. He was still throwing heat. It's just that, Omari was too big of a step up at the time, and Munir Lazez is an undiscovered gem. Like, that kid is fucking amazing. Like, when I watched that fight last night, it wasn't like, I know that Razak missed weight. I know he came in heavy for that fight. I know he was off a layoff, but like, it wasn't even about what Razak did wrong, man. It was like, that kid Munir Lazez has some amazing kickboxing technique. He's got a fantastic chin. He's like 6'3". His feints were on point. I was like, damn, I cannot wait to see this kid again. And with Khaos Williams, kind of reminds me like a welterweight Derek Brunson. He's a very powerful guy. He's a strong guy. They call him Ox Fighter for a reason. He can sprint across the octagon, but he kind of does that Derek Brunson blitz where he leaves his chin straight up in the air, and just no one's been able to capitalize on it quite yet. And I think Razak is the guy that's going to capitalize on that. You fight a guy like Razak with your chin up in the air, and I think it might be faceplant season, man. And, people are saying Razak is KO or bust in this spot. I actually think Khaos Williams is KO or bust in the spot. I think that if Khaos doesn't get this first round knockout, that either Razak will or Razak can extend him, because I saw in that Jeremy Holloway fight that Khaos was starting to slow down a lot. It's just that he was in there with a much smaller man, was able to capitalize on a few mistakes, maybe get a little top control here and there. I think that's going to be tough to do here, man. I see the cleaner punches being landed by Razak Alhassan, the more effective punches. And look, either guy can win by knockout. They're both very powerful men, but I think Razak's actually going to make a statement here. I heard, last time I heard he was showing up a little heavy. This time I hear he's showing up in much better shape. I think it's going to be a devastating first-round knockout. I think he actually probably face plants Williams, who I like a lot. I think he'll be back, but I think the night's going to belong to Razak.
Yeah, man, Razak, I think, that time off, kind of, and, I agree with the what's Lazez, I forget how to say his first name, but Lazez, my boy from Abu Dhabi, that Dana discovered through a friend or something like that. But that dude's really good, man. Super technical. So I kind of don't, and I kind of knew that going in too, man. I was like, man, this guy, he's pretty solid. But yeah, Razak was out of shape. He missed weight, and I do follow Razak on Instagram, and I have been seeing him on that track. I have been seeing him running those stadiums. I have been seeing him. I have been seeing him, dropping some pounds, man. And Khaos Williams, he's kind of a mystery to me, man, because, Razak, he kind of has the first round KO or busting is valid because, even with the first round KOs, you have to be careful with a guy like Khaos Williams because, the counters that are coming back in return, could be very detrimental. And sometimes when you go through all that outside the cage stuff, and you come back, man, like Munir Lazez, no one thought that dude was anywhere near Razak Alhassan's level, for the most part. And he turns out he was. Khaos Williams, came in a huge underdog to Morono. I know you and some other people were hyping him up in that spot, saying that that he was good. I don't personally know enough about Khaos Williams, so I am gonna take Razak Alhassan to get this knockout because I have been seeing him, dedicated for this camp. So I'm assuming, the first one he kind of just pulled his stun and thought with this first round KO, he probably thought he was fighting a bum. He never heard of him. He was like, who? I knocked out Nico Price, bro. But yeah, I think the only way Khaos Williams wins is by Razak getting too wild and getting caught with something, and that could happen because that return shot he hit with Murata was kind of scary, man. But that's really all I've seen. Other than that, man, it's kind of just average. But who knows how much he's gotten better. I like the kid's mindset a lot, but I'll go with Razak Alhassan.
Main event of the evening in the 55-pound division, we got Paul Felder, who's 17-5, taking on Rafael dos Anjos, who's 29-13. Currently, they got Dos Anjos minus 190 to come back on Felder's plus 165. So, how about the balls on Paul Felder, man? I mean, taking this fight on Monday, the fight's on Saturday, and he didn't ask for a 3-round main event. He didn't ask for this to be at 170 pounds. He didn't ask for a catch weight. He said, I want to fight in a 5-round main event at 155 pounds. You already know, historically speaking, he's got some very rough cuts, but word on the street is he's been training for a triathlon, so his weight was actually kind of low. That's why he was able to take the opportunity. But Shaq, you also know he hasn't really been sparring or wrestling much, so his timing might be kind of off. But both guys are, they've said they're, a few fights away from retirement. So who do you kind of see walking away as the winner Saturday night?
Yeah, man, great matchup. Paul Felder, got a lot of respect for him. Had a great last fight with Dan Hooker down there in Australia. Very close fight. Hooker slightly edged it. And that's always been the theme of Paul Felder's career. He didn't do quite enough. He was he almost was there, but you remember the Ross Pearson fight back in the day, or the
how could I forget?
Paul throw, or the there's several other ones, man. You remember when he fought Josh Berkman back in the day and gave us a damn near heart attack?
And we thought it was lock of the year.
I bet Paul by KO and Paul by first round and all this shit. But yeah, I feel like I think Paul's in over his head, man. And I know Dos Anjos, is on the tail end of his career, and he's been taking a lot of L's. But but I am gonna say, look at the style, the type of style guys that he's losing to, and just the current state in which those guys that he's losing to are in. We're talking about Colby Covington, #1 contender, Kamaru Usman, a current UFC champion, Leon Edwards, a top 5 contender as of currently, Michael Chiesa, a top 10, a grappler heavy style. And then you see him when he takes the step down in middle of the pack type of guy like Kevin Lee, and you see what happens there. You know what I'm saying? Or Neil Magny, someone who else is a little lower down. And I feel like that's going to be the same thing that happens here, man. I think that Paul's got straightforward Muay Thai, nothing special. He comes up short on a lot of his punches. The inability to throw has always been the issue. Even in the fights that he wins, the Vic fight, which I guess, the Vic and the Edson fights, he both won. But, I feel like he won that Vic fight just based off the fact that, the guy when he gets hit, it's quite obvious, you know what I'm saying? In the Edson fight, I bet on Paul in that fight and thought he won the fight. But, it was still one of those things where I was like, come on, Paul. Like, it's like you could have made this a lot easier, bro. Like, the dude's huffing and puffing and gassing for air, man. But I think Dos Anjos is just going to outwork him, man. Just come out here and have a solid, well-rounded MMA attack. Hit him with the body kick. Hit him with the straight punches. I feel like Paul's going to be, not throwing. I think Paul's going to be hesitant to throw on Saturday night. I don't think he's going to feel right in there. I think this is a good story, and I respect Paul 100%. But Rafael dos Anjos was getting ready to fight a grappling heavy style Russian, man. Just imagine the type of shape that Rafael has on Paul Felder coming into Saturday night. If they start working a high pace, and I feel like Rafael can still work that pace, man. Even in the Leon fight, like, I know Leon whooped his ass, but Leon's like 6'1", 6'2", like long striker and the wrestling, man. Like, and Dos Anjos, the first 3 rounds, it was 2-1. It was respectable. Chiesa, these are 6 foot, plus tall grapplers, man. This Paul Felder is nothing like that. And Paul Felder retired, man. He said he was done. And, he's been commentating. And once you got that 1 foot out the door, and I don't know exactly. He's just challenging himself. And like I said, I respect it. But as far as winning and losing, I got Rafael dos Anjos on Saturday night. I want to say a finish, but I wouldn't be shocked if he just put the MMA clinic on him and took him down. And Paul Felder's a black belt and he's got good jiu-jitsu, but he hasn't been training, man. Like,
Paul's a black belt?
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu?
Or I thought so. Doesn't he train with like Manny and all of them?
I didn't know he was a black belt though. Interesting.
I mean, yeah, I know he went in Charles Oliveira's guard,
and he's an MMA black belt. We'll give him that. He survived Charles Oliveira.
Like, he went through all the subs with Charles, so I mean, he's got to be a black belt. But I think, yeah, man, I just think that he's not going to perform well. He's not going to. The execution won't be there on Saturday night for a guy. A guy like him needs a camp man for his timing, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go with Rafael dos Anjos just to outwork him, just to put a pace on him and get the win.
Yeah, props to Paul Felder taking this fight on a week short notice. Got all the respect in the world for him. That's very admirable. But man, for a guy who's historically, struggled with the weight cuts, and by the way, he made weight today, so that's very good to see. But I'm just curious about what his timing is going to be like. He admittedly said that he hasn't been, sparring, he hasn't been wrestling, he hasn't been doing any of that stuff. He's only kind of been doing some cardio and hitting pads. So maybe he's such a vet to where, he's all good doing all that. I mean, the guy knows how to fight, no doubt about it. But the timing, I need his timing to be on if I wanted to pick him here. And I know Rafael dos Anjos has been training for a 5-round intense fight against Islam Makhachev. And the fact that Rafael is dropping back to 55, I mean, I know he's got to be motivated. I know he's got to be hungry. So I think that Rafael can kind of be more active, can come out there, pump that body kick. And then if he wants to mix in takedowns, he can mix in takedowns too. I mean, you saw Edson Barboza, who's not known for being a wrestler, go out there and take down a guy like Paul Felder. We've seen other people take down Paul Felder as well. And, what was Paul Felder's last fight? Dan Hooker. Yeah. That last round against Dan Hooker, it was the takedown of Dan Hooker that cost Paul Felder the fight. So I think that if, shit's going kind of sketchy on the feet, which the thing with Felder is, he's not going to out-volume anybody, but it's just you got to watch out for that upward elbow. You got to watch out for that hard kick. You got to watch out for that check hook. I mean, the guy hits extremely hard. And he's also very durable. The only time he's been stopped was in Brazil against Francisco Trinaldo due to a cut. So, he's a very tough guy as well. But he retired his last fight. He's taking this on a week notice. I got to go with Rafael to slightly outwork him. And I agree with you, possibly, we'll see what happens, but possibly put on the MMA clinic, kind of slightly edge him standing, but mix in takedowns when appropriate. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going to roll with Rafael dos Anjos as well. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Ashley Yoder, who's 7-6, versus Miranda Granger, who's 7-1. Currently, they got Miranda Granger -170. The comeback on Ashley Yoder's +150. And Shaq, I know we like to joke around about fights where it's 1-1 going to the third round, and Ashley Yoder is not going to win that third round. But she's fighting close with like Livia Souza and like Randa Markos, all these established fighters. This is, I would say this is a step down, actually, Shaq.
Yeah, man. So this is one of the fights I'm looking forward to the most, and I don't say that much with the strawweight fight, but it's just, I mean, there's been a lot of conflicting opinions in this fight. There's a lot of action on Miranda Granger this weekend, man, and I don't see why, man. Look, I know I've shat on Ashley Yoder several times, but I'm willing to say, man, her last fight against Souza, in my opinion, that was the best she ever looked. Now, I know she lost, but, I mean, that was expected. I mean, I don't think we actually thought Livia would lose to her, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I thought it was, I mean, she looked good. I mean, I was like, hey, she's, the last two rounds were competitive. The first round was big for Souza, but Miranda Granger, I like her. I've actually had some interactions with her coach on IG here and there. He's a cool guy, but I think that it's just too. She hasn't shown enough for us to have the confidence. Like Livia Souza has shown me enough to say, all right, yeah, she's beating Yoder. You know what I'm saying? Randa Markos, I was confident, she'll beat Yoder. Or Mackenzie, Angela Hill, all them girls. So Miranda Granger's only got 2 fights in the UFC, one against Hannah Goldie. Hannah Goldie, like I like Hannah Goldie, I like her. I like her Instagram, you know what I'm saying? But like as a fighter, I mean, it's completely different, man. And then against Amanda Lemos, and look, Amanda Lemos is serious. I mean, my girl Amanda, she grew up in the Amazon with my boy Figgy, so we already know what type of fighter she is. But I think. I mean, one back take in the fight was over. You know what I'm saying? And I know Ashley Yoder likes to hop that back and slip over all the time. But I do think the last fight was a step in the right direction. She's got to be hungry. I just feel like this is one of those classic traps, man. I feel like I get the thought process of fading Yoder. Yoder will lose. I get it, but not with Miranda Granger. She hasn't shown enough. And even in the Hannah Goldie fight, I mean, I wasn't really like that impressed. I mean, Hannah Goldie was backing up the entire time. And look, Ashley Yoder, her 2 wins is a split against Bobby Cooper and Siri Kondo. But I mean, she has been in there, and I do think, man, experience counts. I mean, we saw it last week a lot, man. Experience counts, and I do think she's got a huge experience advantage in this fight, man. And I feel like she has a grappling edge too. And I'm actually, I'm a picker for the win, man. I don't know how, but I think I just feel like it should be a pick 'em. Or maybe pick him. It's with a slight lean on Yoder just due to experience. I mean, Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill, what's Miranda Granger done?
Yeah, I agree with you on this one, man. Actually, because at first, I was thinking about it in terms of like, oh, I get to fade Ashley Yoder again. But then when I watched Miranda Granger, I mean, look, I like chicks that finish fights, so it was cool to see her choke a bunch of girls unconscious and do all that, but like she was out there submitting a bunch of soccer moms, and as soon as she stepped up in competition, I mean, she wasn't even close to getting any submissions on Hannah Goldie. That was a very close fight, and the activity on the feet wasn't enough for my liking, and then Amanda Lemos absolutely blew her out the water. So I still feel like Granger has a lot of ground to cover, whereas Yoder has been in here in the trenches, man, with Angela Hill, with Dern, going to a split with Mackenzie Dern, with Livia Souza, with Markos, with all these established fighters. So I agree, man. The level of competition is just night and day. And also, I feel like Yoder's got an advantage on the mat. So, and lastly, I'm not convinced Miranda Granger can make it that tough fight where it's 1-1 going in the third round. So I think this is the most winnable fight that Yoder's had since Siri Kondo. Maybe a slight step up from Siri Kondo, but I see her coming out here and winning this fight. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Alex Morono, who's 17-6, and Rhys McKee is 10-3. Currently, they got Alex Morono minus 170. The comeback on Rhys McKee is plus 150. So, Shaq, I mean, on paper, I like certain things about Rhys McKee. He's 6'2". He's got the 78-inch reach. On paper, it looks great. But then you watch him fight, and it's like, man, that tall man defense. And granted, we haven't really seen him at 70s besides the Hamzat fight, so maybe he looks like a brand new man. But if the guy that I've been seeing at 55 shows up, this might be a bad matchup for him.
Yeah, man. Another guy, Rhys McKee, he kind of reminds me of Ramiz last week, man. This matchup, at least. I feel like I tried to give this kid a chance. Like, he's 6'2", and, Morono's kind of, unathletic, slow, sloppy, and just got knocked out viciously. So, I was going in, I was like, let's see. And I know this kid knocked out Jay Herbert, who I like a lot. So, I was very interested, but man, I was like, God, like this kid's just getting shoved to the mat so easily, like fucking the chin sky high up in the air. I know he's one of Norman Park students from Northern Ireland. You remember what my boy Connor said about those Northerners, man? Those
I
Nords, and look, I think that Morono should win this fight, man. I think he's more experienced. I think he hits harder. I think he's honestly the better grappler as well. I know this kid has the tendency to, guys have the tendency to kind of beat his ass and then he kind of comes back a little bit. But, he's only had like 2 fights at 170. He is tall, but I'm guessing I'm seeing like a toughness thing. Like, he's in the spots, but then he just gets shoved to the mat, kind of like similar to like a Craig White in a sense. Is like, dude, like, why are you letting this dude just push you down? But he has fought tough competition on his local scene. I will give him that, in Cage Warriors and in Bama. I just see Morono ahead of him in every area. Look, Morono has pulled stunts at times. The Jordan Mean one. I'll never forget. I'll never forget the first 2 rounds of that fight. I was like, whoa! I was like, Alex, what are you doing? I was like, Alex, it's not a jiu-jitsu match, bro. But at least he came back. Beat Max Griffin up pretty good. Beat Keenan Song. Like there's levels to this, and I think he's been in fights with Nico Price. Some other guys. So I think there's just levels to this. I wouldn't be shocked if Rhys McKee pulled off a fluke finish, but I see Morono beating him up in the late rounds, and starting to hit him with the spins and the big great white Morono hooks, man. So I'll take Alex for the win.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. At first, I was like, oh, who's this 6'2" kid with the 78-inch reach? Maybe we can fade Morono here. It's plus 170 at the betting window. But then when I watch him, it's like, man, he's so damn hittable. And some of these fights where he's winning, the guys just, they'll tee off on him, and then they stop throwing, and he'll, kind of slow cook him a little bit. But I was thinking, oh, it was at 55. He's moving so slow. Maybe at 170 he looks better. But, the Hamzat fight doesn't really let us know much. We can kind of put the Hamzat fight on the back burner because he would have lost to Hamzat at any weight class and in any venue under any circumstance. So it is what it is.
Imagine if Hamzat fought Morono.
He'd throw him out of the cage. But as far as this matchup, like you said, there's levels to this. This is going to be one of those fights like the Muntasri fight where Alex Morono, when he fights a lower level guy, he tees off on a lower level guy. He's going to back this guy up into the fence. He's going to start winging the overhands. Just has to be careful. Don't get caught. Morono is a little bit chinny. He definitely wears damage for sure. But I'd say he's further along in his career at this point. He can kind of do what he did to Keenan Song in this spot. So I'm going to roll with Alex Morono as well. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Luis, the Last Samurai Smolka, he's 16-7, and Jose Teco Quinonez is 8-4. Currently, they got Luis Smolka minus 150. The comeback on Jose Quinonez is plus 130. So, Shaq, I remember you famously said if Luis Smolka is a favorite, there's usually a reason behind it. So, is there a reason behind him being a favorite here?
Teco's got no chin, so I guess that would be the reason. And look, if you bet Teco, you have to just when you make that bet, just know, hey, he might go down. But other than that aspect in this fight of Teco's chin, I honestly think Teco's the better fighter. Look, Smolka's a dog. I like Smolka, tough kid, will never quit. Hawaiian, those Hawaiians. Smolka's a fucking fish, bro. But lately, man, he has gotten finished. Casey, but those are by Casey Kinney and who else finished him? Matt Schnell finished him too. But man, I think it just depends. It depends. This fight is because Smolka has really what I say depends because I've been seeing Smolka, bro, on YouTube. I know his girl. I think his wife's got a YouTube channel or something and he's been doing these. And I saw this before the Casey Kinney fight too, and before this fight. But he's been doing what they call them the mukbangs or some shit like that, and where they're eating food from restaurants and shit and fucking I've been seeing Smolka eat good, and I know he's a bantamweight now, so I guess maybe he can afford to do it. But it just depends. Sometimes guys like Smolka. We know he's got the fighting spirit. He'll move forward. He's willing to die in there. But what the floor of Luis Smolka is bad. You know what I'm saying? If he does not show up, it can get he'll start giving up easy takedowns. He'll start getting rocked and wobbled. And just start looking real sloppy. Now I know he knocked out Ryan McDonald, but then Ryan McDonald's a complete can. We remember watching Ryan McDonald's local scene fights, bro. Come on now. Ryan McDonald was out there getting floored in Nebraska, bro. And that's just facts.
By guys with losing records.
By guys with losing records, and that's just facts. That is, stamped. So I can't really come out here and I see a lot of confidence in Smolka. And look, if y'all touch the chin, y'all touch the chin, and congratulations. But I think it's gonna actually be a little bit harder for him to do it than people think. I think Teco's got better footwork. better transitions. The grappling, Smolka's a good grappler. It's kind of 50-50 there, but the footwork advantage I see big for Tecco. And it's just sometimes Smolka doesn't show up and he looks like a drunk slob in there sometimes. And, and it's kind of like, get a knockout, look like a slob, get a knockout. And, I don't know, man. I feel like it's a close fight, but I just think it should be a pick'em. I think Tecco Quinonez, he kind of did quit his last fight against Sugar Sean O'Malley, but I just think that was one of those things where he was broken already, going into the fight. But in his other fights against Hao Chin, his chin, held up there, and that was a lower level guy, and he put a clinic on him. Diego Rivas, his chin held up, put a clinic on him. I do think Smolka's better than those guys, but I don't know. I just have a feeling you shouldn't play Smolka, not in this fight. Against Ryan McDonald when he was like minus 240, and everyone was like, "Should Smolka be minus 240?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, Ryan McDonald fucking blows." You know what I'm saying? But I think Tecco is much better than that, much smarter than that, and in certain fights he can actually look really good, man. So I'm actually going to take him for the win here. I think it's going to be a dog fight, but if Tecco's chin holds up, I think he can kind of weasel a decision here.
But yeah, man, I mean, I think you brought up some great points about the Lewis Smolka fight. For me, the way I see this fight between him and Tecco, it's one of those situations where if this fight ends inside the distance, then I most likely lean towards Smolka. But if it goes the distance, I got to go with Tecco. I think that Tecco can kind of keep this on the outside, pump those feints, do that Mexican Dominic Cruz style. And, the exchanges might be kind of 50-50. He's got to watch out for that chin. And the reason his chin is so messed up, those that have heard past episodes of Half the Battle know that, he's a bantamweight. He's a 35er. He went up to 55 on his regional scene and fought Davi Ramos and suffered one of the most vicious knockouts we've ever seen on the regional scene. And that's why he gets wobbled every single fight. So even against a guy like Smolka, who's not really a power puncher, he's got to be careful here as well. But that being said, I think that it can be kind of close on the feet, but Tecco can kind of edge this out by mixing in takedowns and just, having the overall MMA game. But Smolka's one of those guys that purposely puts himself in bad positions so he can scramble out, get on top. He's heavy on top. He's got good ground and pound. So Tecco has to be on his game here. But again, I think he can mix in takedowns and kind of edge a decision that way. So I'm going to roll with Tecco Quinonez to win this fight via decision. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Randa Markos, who's 10-9, and she's taking on Kanako Murata, who's 11-1. Currently, they got Kanaka Murata minus 200. The comeback on Randa Markos is plus 170. Listen, all I got to say is this Invicta champion better be pretty legit to be minus 200 over Markos. I know Markos is known for pulling all kinds of stunts, but she pulls stunts against the best fighters on planet Earth. Amanda Ribas, against Mackenzie Dern, against a bunch of legit fighters. But she, when you're not quite on her level, she's got a win over the former champion Carla Esparza. She smashed Angela Hill in the first round. So do you think this is a little bit of a overhyping of Kanaka Murata, or is this a welcomed addition to the division?
This fight kind of reminds me like Yoder and Granger a little bit in a sense, because everyone's betting the Jap, and the Jap. She's strong, big muscles, lefty, good wrestling. The striking isn't as good as the wrestling, and I just think in general, I don't really see like top 15 or anything, but I see her, getting some wins, being a good decent fighter. Randa Markos, like you said, look, Markos. Well, the reason why I don't put it to the extent like Granger and Yoder is because Markos kind of has been showing signs of just complete, she's a mess, man, and I've been saying that for a while. She is kind of a mess. I've heard interviews of her, like her training. Like the way she sets up her training, it seems like I have a feeling that she's one of those people that, because at one point, this girl had potential, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, beat Esparza, beat Tisha Torres, beat, all these girls, Angela Hill. But then, I feel like, she went out to TriStar and, she tried it out for one fight against Carolina, and, then she left and, she did her own thing. And the way it sounds, it just seems like it's all over the place. But, that's just something, I see. And it kind of shows in the fights. All these fights that she could have won, but it was just due to sloppiness, just due to her, screwing up putting herself in bad positions. Look at the Marina Rodriguez fight, 10-8, to start the first round, and then she completely, gives it away. Or just, the Alexa Grasso fight, gets off to a good lead there. Was, slamming Alexa, picking her up, and gives it away. So Randa Markos actually has been showing signs. Now, I'm not that impressed with Murata. I just think she's tough. I think she, she is willing to, get down dirty in there. And her fight with Ducote was close, but I feel like she was the aggressor. And, she needs to move her head on the striking, because Markos, she kind of does hit hard. I do feel like there is some value. Like, it's a good chance it could be one of those 1-1, going into the third round, and like, shit, this is a close fight. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a slightly lean with the jab. I think she's just gonna make smarter decisions. I heard she's been training, in some of those same circles. What's the fucking gym called? What's the gym called? It's in Cali. Fucking like Dustin Ortiz and them train there. You know what I'm talking about? What's the striker in Bellator? Fucking Bolanos.
Oh, Gaston Bolanos.
Yeah. His coach, the guy, he did Rogan's podcast. He was Henry's coach for a little bit, and fucking I forgot. But.
It's all good. That gym.
Yeah, that gym. She's been training. So she has been training in the States. She's getting that USA training. So, I'm going to take her for the win. I just don't see any improvements in Markos, man. I do think it's going to be a close fight, though. I do think it's going to be a close fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is, one of those fights where it's really about how good is Murata right now. We know how good Markos is. You have to be a certain level to go out there and beat someone like Markos. On her best day, she beat Carla Esparza, beat Angela Hill, Tisha Torres. She also loses a lot of fights, too. Has a lot of mental lapses in there, but at her best.
She lost to Courtney Casey.
Yeah, in the first round. But, at her best, she's a top 15 fighter in that division. At her worst, it's one of the, she's very hot and cold, just like her record indicates. With Murata, I mean, she lost to Rin Nakai, right, Shaq?
It's not good.
Yeah,
but isn't Rin Nakai a 35er?
True. Okay, we'll give her a pass because it was up 2 weight classes, but she still lost to Rin Nakai. So, you know what I'm saying?
You remember those knee pads Rin Nakai used to wear?
Yeah, and I bet when they fought, they were probably wearing tennis shoes and everything, But as far as this matchup, I liked what I saw from Murata in terms of, like, she's pretty disciplined with her game plan. She's strong. She moves forward. She mixes in takedowns nicely. So if she just comes out here with a disciplined attack, she could probably edge the decision. So I'll slightly lean with her for that reason. I'm not going to say it's dog or pass because it is hard to trust Markos, even though I cashed a plus 265 on her against Esparza, but that was back in the day. I'm not sure if she's as motivated as she once was. So I'll lean with Japan's own Kanako Murata, but we'll see what happens. I wouldn't go crazy at the betting window. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Tony Gravely, who's 19-6, and Geraldo de Freitas is 12-5. Currently, they got Tony Gravely minus 145. The comeback on Geraldo de Freitas is plus 125. This is a really good fight, man. I see this. I think it should actually be aligned a little bit closer. I faded Gravely against Brett Johns and cashed there, but then I bet on Geraldo against Gutierrez and lost there. Both very, very close fights. I see there being a lot of back and forth takedowns. Both these guys give up bad positions. Tony Gravely, though, he's been submitted 1 million times. That's the thing you got to look out for. If he gets submitted one more time, I'm not going to exactly be surprised, but I think he can slightly edge this one out. I think he's the stronger guy. It's just you got to be careful. De Freitas, I like the kid. He's exciting. He's well-rounded. He's got good wrestling. For not having a wrestling background, he's got some decent takedowns as well, but he also gets taken down a lot. I see this being a really back-and-forth fight with Gravely slightly edging it out. Maybe he gets one more takedown per round. Just don't get choked out for the millionth time,
Yeah. I like this fight, man, because, De Freitas, we bet him against Chris Dogfight. Got his leg broken in that fight in the first round, and he kept going. So, we know what type of warrior he is from Novo União. But man, for a Novo União guy, he got some good cardio, man. So I don't think that's that big of an issue for him. And then Gravely, I think cardio is an issue for him. Now, I think, because he's got the big muscle, heavy kind of reminds me of like a Miles Johns. He actually reminds me of is like a version of Mirsad Bektik, and I'll tell you why, man. I feel like Gravely, honestly, is a lot more talented than De Freitas, a lot stronger, a lot more powerful. It's just like, man, in at least 3 or 4 of these fights I've seen, it's like, even the fights when he wins, it's like he'll be slamming the guy. I mean, he's a college D1 wrestler, big time D1 wrestler, slamming the guy, getting takedowns, hurting him on the feet. But it just seems like at times he just gets a little bit carried away and does a little bit too much and exhausts himself out. And then he hits a wall and then he gets his back taken. And then it's like, whoa, Gravely, like, bro, we were just smashing him. Well, how does this guy have your back all of a sudden? And he does it a lot, man. So it's definitely a big worry. And I feel like now that he's at ATT, I know he's training with guys like, Marlon Moraes, Randy Costa, your boy Puerta's down there, Durden's down there right now. So, I know he's got a good group of dudes to work with. I know he left wherever he's from to go down there. So I am going to pick him for the win as well. It's just a matter of, him not hitting that wall and giving up his back and getting tapped out, because he does it a lot, man. And he's winning in the majority of these fights too. And De Freitas, man, I just think he's kind of, I don't want to say basic, but just, it seemed like the issue I had in the Gutierrez fight was just he didn't really make adjustments. Once that calf got shut down, I mean, he just kept charging forward instead of, and Gutierrez actually, kind of, survived his jiu-jitsu and got on top of him. So,
And last but not least, in the heavyweight division, we got DonTayle Mayes. He's 7-4, and Roque Martinez is 15-6. Currently, they got DonTayle Mayes minus 240. The comeback on Roque Martinez is plus 200. So, Shaq, I've already said this a million times. There's only one fight Roque Martinez should be having right now, and that's that fight against obesity. He should not be in a cage against a guy like DonTayle Mayes. But that being said, he's actually better than DonTayle Mayes. Like, I would not be surprised if, like, he got on top and, like, got him in some kind of, headlock or some shit like that. But, like, the guy can barely move around anyways. Like, he's got to drop 100 pounds before we talk about, him fighting in the octagon. So I got to go with DonTayle Mayes by default. I mean, he's, a big athletic dude, 6'6", but he also lost to Alan Crowder inside the distance. So, like, he's had some very embarrassing losses. It's like if Roque Martinez was in shape, I'd actually pick him here. But, I bet he's been eating gas station cheese dogs on fight week. So I'll go with DonTayle Mayes.
Yeah, I haven't really. This is the one fight I really haven't looked that much into. I really don't know that much about Roque. Is that how you say his name? Roque?
Yeah, some shit.
I mean, he looks like a bum. His fight with Romanov, that's a tough debut, so I really won't even, shame him too much for that. But I know DonTayle Mayes, and just pre-thoughts. I haven't watched tape on this one yet, but I don't think he should be minus 240 against anyone. I mean, not only the Alan Crowder fight, but what about his last fight? He got his last two fights. He got absolutely. I know one of them was Surreal Gone, but Surreal Gone is out here, dropping down for leg locks and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and getting them. But you know what I'm saying? And his fight with. I know he's got a win over Usman's brother, but guys, trust me, if y'all watch the fight, Usman's brother ain't shit. Like, fucking, Usman's brother is super green. And then his fight with, who did he fight last? He got finished. Who did DonTayle Mayes fight last?
Nascimento.
Yeah, Nascimento went out there and friggin' handled him with ease. And Nascimento did just get starched by my boy Chris, but Nascimento went out there with ease. And
hey, real quick. Sorry to interrupt. This is interrupt worthy. Merab Dvalishvili versus Ioni Barcelos, December 5th.
I knew that fight was gonna happen, and let's go. He said he wanted the fight, so.
Your wish is my command.
Your wishes, Ioni accepted. So. But man, that's a great fight. But yeah, man, I'll take Roque Martinez, even though I really don't know shit about him. But I'll just pick him.
I feel you. I mean, if DonTayle falls down, there's a chance he's not getting back up. He's gonna have to call life alert, like, help, I've fallen and can't get up, you know.
Get that belly on him, bro. Get that belly on him.
Yeah. So normally we do the fight to watch and the fighter to watch, but I'm running out of studio time, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Good show today. Everybody follow Shaq at MMA Genius 05. Everybody follow me at Best Fight Picks. Make sure you're subscribed to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. And also manscaped.com. Use that promo code BATTLE20, all caps BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping. Remember to send us that screenshot. We'll match it with a Best Fight Picks package. You can find our bets at bestfightpicks.com. Shout out to Emmanuel El Matador Sanchez going out there, cashing last night, came through big. And now it's on to this weekend and then the next. Only, I believe, 5 UFC events left, so let's finish out strong. Thank you very much to all our fans for all the support. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.